In all human societies, our narratives often serve as mirrors and architects of societal beliefs. The role of narrative in shaping popularly held societal beliefs has only increased with the invention and proliferation of the media. The stories we tell through the modern media can shape societal views and propagate stereotypes about certain groups of people that may or may not be accurate. Woven within this modern fabric of media and popular culture, a disconcerting pattern exists: the pervasive and often damaging portrayal of Native Americans. Storytelling has been an intricate part of Native American culture for centuries. Theirs is a tradition that reveres the nuanced tales of their ancestors and the sacred connection to their land. Yet, the narratives spun by mainstream media have often betrayed this richness, perpetuating harmful stereotypes that misrepresent and contribute to the continued marginalization of Native communities. These portrayals take the richness of a diverse and fascinating culture like that of the Native Americans and smear it with reductive stereotypes and one-dimensional caricatures. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Native Journal. In this episode, we embark on a journey through the cinematic frontier, unearthing the untold stories and shedding light on the misrepresentation, negative portrayals, and unspoken truths that have long cloaked the Native American experience in the realm of media and popular culture. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified of more captivating videos like this. The story of the Native Americans, and how they've come to be portrayed negatively in popular culture, would not be complete without a history of their relationship with European settlers and colonization. The stereotyping of American Indians cannot be divorced from the harsh realities of the history that preceded it. The haunting tale of European colonization in North America unfolds against a backdrop of exploration, exploitation, and profound cultural clash. The early 17th century saw European powers, primarily the Spanish, English, and French, embark on expeditions to establish footholds in the so-called New World. The arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492 was the catalyst. It marked the beginning of a complex and often brutal chapter, leading to the eventual colonization of indigenous lands. As European settlers established colonies along the Atlantic seaboard, a pattern of displacement and dispossession emerged. The infamous Pilgrims aboard the Mayflower landed at Plymouth Rock in 1620, seeking religious freedom, but inadvertently triggering a wave of European colonization. This marked the onset of the systematic acquisition of Native American lands. In the following decades, conflicts such as King Philip's War, also known as the First Indian War, 1675 to 1678, and the Pequot War, 1636 to 1638, saw indigenous communities resisting encroachment. Despite all their bravery and noble attempts to repel them, the relentless advance of European settlers persisted. The 18th century witnessed a surge in European colonization with the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, as a significant catalyst. The Treaty of Paris in 1763, concluding the war, ceded vast territories to the British and further displaced Native American population. Subsequently, the Proclamation Line, 1763, aimed to restrict colonial expansion beyond the Appalachian Mountains, but its enforcement proved challenging. Amidst these events, the late 19th century saw a culmination of policies aimed at cultural assimilation and displacement. The Indian Removal Act of 1830, under President Andrew Jackson, forced the relocation of thousands of Native Americans, primarily the Cherokee, Choctaw, and Creek nations, to lands west of the Mississippi River. This brutal and devastating journey, known as the Trail of Tears, claimed the lives of thousands due to exposure, disease, and hardship. Another one of these insidious attempts at forced assimilation was the establishment of Indian boarding schools. These institutions, such as the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, sought to erase indigenous languages and cultural practices, further alienating Native American children from their heritage. They aimed to foster a disconnection from their cultural roots, to mold indigenous individuals into European Americans. This historical context is essential in understanding the birth of negative stereotypes about Native Americans. The colonization events, marked by dispossession, forced displacement, and cultural suppression, laid the foundation for the distorted portrait. The narratives of savagery and exoticism were used as justifications for the usurpation of native lands. From this understanding of history, it becomes clear that the myths and stereotypes surrounding Native Americans are deeply embedded in the meta-narrative of the United States, evolving from the concept of manifest destiny to contemporary American exceptionalism. These enduring myths persist because they align with narratives Americans use to interpret their history. A poignant historical instance is the Declaration of Independence, which referred to Native Americans as merciless Indian savages, setting a tone for the stereotypes that follow. These stereotypes, entwined with historical, cultural, and racial characteristics, continued influencing perceptions. From then on, early visual representations emerged, influenced not by an understanding of indigenous cultures, but by the prevailing ignorance and ethnocentrism. Artistic renderings and engravings portrayed Native Americans through a distorted lens, casting them as figures only to be, at worst, feared and, at best, romantically exoticized. The die was cast, and these early depictions, steeped in prejudice and cultural misapprehension, became the building blocks for a legacy of harmful portrayals that would transcend eras and mediums. The 19th century ushered in a new chapter with the proliferation of Wild West shows that crisscrossed the nation. As Hollywood's golden age dawned, the Western genre emerged as a formidable force, shaping future generations' perception. In the wake of films like The Birth of a Nation, 1915, a cinematic opus celebrated for its technical innovations but condemned for its unabashed racism, harmful stereotypes found a breeding ground. John Ford's magnum opus, The Searchers, 1956, also exemplifies this era's cinematic ethos. Native Americans, portrayed as one-dimensional adversaries, lacked the depth afforded to other characters, perpetuating a reductionist view that seeped into the cultural consciousness. These shows captivated their audiences with dramatized tales of frontier life. Central to these spectacles were performances that perpetuated stereotypes like the savage warrior, the heathen medicine man, and the stoic noble. Native Americans, relegated to the periphery of the narrative, were portrayed through the lens of the savage stereotype, a caricature that cast them as primitive antagonists. To add insult to injury, white actors donned ersatz indigenous attire, further entrenching the perception of Native Americans as other, and perpetuating notions of inherent inferiority. This period etched memorable images of the savage Indian onto the silver screen and created a template that would be replicated across countless films in the coming decades. The dawn of the 20th century witnessed a seismic shift into a new era of misrepresentation. Various silent films emerged as a powerful medium for storytelling, and unfortunately, they were not immune to perpetuating these harmful stereotypes. The Battle at Elderbush Gulch, 1913, is a glaring example. It presents Native Americans as aggressive antagonists. In the mid-20th century, Hollywood embraced the Western genre enthusiastically. Iconic films like Stagecoach, 1939, perpetuated stereotypes of the savage Indian, reducing rich and diverse cultures to one-dimensional tropes. Television, an ever-present companion in the living rooms of America, also played a pivotal role. Television further exacerbated the issue with shows like The Lone Ranger, 1949 to 1957, where Native American characters were often portrayed by non-Indigenous actors, compounding the problem of erasure. It featured Jay Silverheels, a Mohawk actor, often relegated to the role of Tonto, the faithful sidekick. A subtle shift occurred in the latter half of the 20th century. Films like Dances with Wolves, 1990, lauded for their apparent celebration of Native American culture, faced scrutiny upon closer inspection. Despite the accolades, the film's narrative reflected a Western gaze, perpetuating a Eurocentric savior complex. Positive stereotypes, cloaked in the guise of the noble savage, persisted, revealing the enduring challenge of authentic representation. Historical misconceptions have also fueled numerous distortions, some of which persist as stereotypes. The myth of the vanishing red man portrays Indians as a dying race, contrary to census data showing an increase in the number of individuals identifying as American Indians or Alaska Natives. Contrary to the assumption of inferiority leading to land loss, the reality involves factors such as the devastating impact of Old World diseases and the absence of specific crucial resources like puck animals and steel-making capabilities. Even historical events, like the purchase of Manhattan Island, have been distorted. The exchange between Peter Minuit and the Lenni Lenape people was a cultural misunderstanding, as Native Americans had a communal conception of property, not understanding the European notion of fee simple. Myths surrounding figures like Pocahontas, often used to romanticize encounters between Native Americans and Europeans, are now recognized by historians as fabrication. The story of her rescue of John Smith, shaped over multiple retellings, exemplifies the romanticization of Native American figure. Although there have been several initiatives in recent years to quell these negative portrayals, the stereotypes persist. An example of this is the assumption that a majority of Native Americans live on reservation. In reality, only about 25% do, with the slight majority residing in urban areas. Even more disturbing is the case of the stereotypes that abounds about Indigenous Native American women. Indigenous women face sexual objectification and stereotyping as promiscuous. This terrible stereotype contributes to real-world violence, murder, and rape against Native American women. Terms like squaw, which is a derogatory sexual slur used for Native American women and is derived from an Algonquin word, are now widely deemed offensive. The seemingly positive portrayals, adorned with the aura of the noble savage, merit scrutiny as they, too, contribute to the perpetuation of skewed narrative. Historically, Native men were portrayed as hostile and depraved, evolving into the stereotype of the noble savage. Once prevalent in school sports teams' names, this image faced disfavor in the later 20th century. Although some professional teams continue controversial mascots, there is a growing trend toward revision. The noble savage stereotype also links American Indians with a special kinship with their environment. This stereotype implies that Native Americans resist corruption by commercialization and industrialization, striving to preserve their habitat. The belief that Indians possess intuitive knowledge of their culture and history overlooks the diversity in individual knowledge based on family and community connections. The association of American Indian alcoholism as a stereotype is nuanced. Substance use incidence is related to poverty and mental distress, partially stemming from racial stereotyping and discrimination. The misrepresentation wasn't confined to celluloid alone. The inked pages of literature also played a pivotal role in shaping public perception. James Fenimore Cooper's The Last of the Mohicans, 1826, a literary classic, laid the groundwork for romanticizing the noble savage. While seemingly positive, this portrayal was a double-edged sword, contributing to the infantilization of indigenous cultures, constraining them within a Eurocentric framework. It also reinforced the narrative of Native Americans as impediments to so-called civilization. These ostensibly positive portrayals were not immune to problematic tropes. Disney's Peter Pan, 1953, featured Tiger Lily, a Native American princess, reinforcing stereotypes of exoticism and primitiveness. While seemingly benign, such portrayals contributed to the overall misrepresentation and homogenization of diverse indigenous cultures. The latter half of the 20th century brought attempts at more nuanced portrayals, with films like Little Big Man, 1970, and Dances with Wolves, 1990, seeking to present a more complex view of Native America. However, these efforts often faced criticism for still being framed through a non-indigenous lens, thereby perpetuating Eurocentric perspectives. All of these misconceptions, rooted in historical biases, have perpetuated harmful stereotypes in media. The distorted narratives, fueled by a legacy of colonization, continue to shape perceptions and demand a comprehensive re-evaluation of the portrayal of Native Americans in contemporary discourse. The impact of these portrayals on Native American communities has been profound. Media perpetuation of stereotypes reinforces negative biases and hampers the self-determination and cultural revitalization efforts within these communities. The damaging stereotypes born out of colonization events persist, influencing not only how Native Americans are perceived, but also how they perceive themselves. They extend beyond the confines of media portrayals, permeating various facets of society and influencing both self-perception and public opinion. Recent controversies surrounding using Native American mascots in high schools and professional sports teams highlight the urgency of addressing harmful representations. Notably, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's cancellation of 6 trademarks held by Washington's NFL team in 2014 intensified debates. Efforts to reverse this decision and ongoing disputes underscore the deeply ingrained nature of these stereotypes. Advocacy groups, such as the National Congress of American Indians, have spearheaded campaigns like Proud to Be, the campaign to end harmful Indian mascots, seeking to eliminate detrimental media portrayals. These movements leverage historical context, alongside research on the psychological effects of such depictions. Notably, a 2014 report by the Center for American Progress reveals that Native American mascots contribute to lower self-esteem and mental health among Native youth. They also foster cultural biases and prejudices that may incite violence against Native Americans. Consequently, the American Psychological Association, recognizing the academic consensus on the issue, adopted a resolution in 2014 advocating for the immediate retirement of Native American mascots and symbols. A laborative study by scholars from 4 U.S. universities, published in the Journal of Social Issues in 2015, delves into the impact of media representations on Native American identity. The study, titled Frozen in Time, The Impact of Native American Media Representations on Identity and Self-Understanding, emphasizes several key points derived from their extensive analysis. Native Americans often experience relative invisibility in the media, and when depicted, they are frequently relegated to historical figures from the 18th and 19th centuries, perpetuating outdated stereotypes. Modern portrayals often associate Native Americans with addiction, poverty, and a lack of formal education. Media representations also fall short of reflecting the diverse range of tribal cultures within the United States. Native Americans constitute a minute percentage of the population, and their underrepresentation in popular media is stark. While making up about 2% of the total population in 2013, Native Americans comprised less than 1% of children's cartoon characters and ranged from 0 to 0.4% in popular films and prime-time TV shows. The study underscores the psychological consequences of inaccurate and harmful media depiction. Exposure to such portrayals has been linked to detrimental impacts on Native American high school students' self-perception, community bonds, and academic aspiration. Given the scarcity of direct, daily interactions between the average U.S. resident and Native Americans, media representations are pivotal in shaping public perceptions. The authors stress the need for public policy interventions, urging policymakers to support initiatives that create schools free from limiting and negative representations affecting the future potential of Native American students. Additionally, they advocated for policies that compel media outlets to consider the impact of their representations on minority groups, emphasizing the far-reaching implications of addressing stereotypes beyond individual media portrayals. Native Americans also face disproportionate challenges like high school dropout rates, low college enrollment rates, and alarming rates of teen suicide, approximately 75% higher than the national average. Contributing to these tragedies are self-destructive behaviors like alcoholism and substance abuse. Statisticians argue that these issues are exacerbated by the poor self-image Native Americans have as a people, a direct consequence of the persistent misrepresentation in popular culture, media, and athletic teams. Addressing these stereotypes is crucial for acknowledging the root causes of more significant problems faced by Native American communities. Efforts to challenge and rectify the negative portrayals of Native Americans in media and popular culture have gained momentum in recent years. Various initiatives seek to dismantle harmful stereotypes and foster a more accurate understanding of indigenous cultures. Advocacy groups, including the National Congress of American Indians, continue to lead campaigns advocating for the retirement of Native American masks. The impact of such initiatives extends beyond symbolism, as they aim to reshape the narratives perpetuated by media and athletic teams. These initiatives understand that representation matters, and its absence or misrepresentation in media can have profound consequences. The negative portrayals of Native Americans in media and popular culture are deeply rooted in historical biases that emerged during the era of European colonization. These stereotypes persist and contribute to real-world challenges, ranging from educational disparities to mental health crises faced by Native American communities. Therefore, initiatives for change are crucial. There is a need to emphasize the power of accurate representation and the need to break the cycle of harmful narrative. By acknowledging the impact of media portrayals, advocating for policy changes, and amplifying authentic voices, we can work towards fostering a more inclusive and respectful portrayal of Native Americans in contemporary discourse. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey into the historical roots of the media's negative portrayal of Native Americans. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to show your support by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and clicking that notification bell so you can be updated on new exciting content from Native journals, where history springs to life.